All right, welcome everybody to In the Paint, Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. We've got Nuggets and Lakers to react to. I just got back from Michael Malone's press conference. We've got Between the Pipes and In the Paint going on simultaneously. So just an FYI, this is an experiment with myself and the Between the Pipes guys, Alex Ryanemi and Mark Springer. So hopefully this goes well. But welcome into the show. Wow, what a odd game here at Ball Arena tonight. The Nuggets get a 131 to 126 victory over the Los Angeles Lakers. No Luka Doncic, no LeBron, no Rui, no Jackson Hayes. And the Nuggets had Aaron Gordon back and had their starting five actually playing together again tonight. This was a very interesting post-game press conference from Michael Malone. He said his team wasn't playing hard enough. And he said he told them, I believe at halftime, fellas, this isn't a preseason game. Wow. So that's a little concerning when you're having to tell your guys they're not playing hard enough in the middle of March with the playoffs under a month away. Man, that's not a good look. And let me just say this. Malone also mentioned, this isn't a beauty pageant. It's a win. They got the win, okay? But my goodness, I'm just going to be honest with you all. This was as close to as an embarrassing win as you can get. You had Bronny James out there looking like LeBron for a little portion of this game. I mean, he only scored 5 points. I get it, but it just looked like the Nuggets couldn't keep up with him running around the court, and he played in 16 minutes. The Lakers fan section here at Ball Arena was absolutely wild to hear. The whatever you want to call it, aura surrounding Bronny James because he's LeBron's kid is really wild. Every time he touched the ball, the Lakers fans, and there were a lot of them here, there were definitely much more Nuggets fans, but the Lakers fans that were here, every time he touched the ball, they went nuts. It was absolutely wild to see. So, anyways, as always, feel free to leave me your comments. I got Mr. Punch Rock Groin. How much for Austin Reeves? Yeah, Austin Reeves. That guy can play. He can play. I equate Austin Reeves to a little less athletic version of Christian Brown, but he can shoot better than Christian can. He was 4 of 10 from 3 tonight. He was absolutely phenomenal for the Lakers. 37 points. Look, if LeBron and Luka play in this game, the Nuggets don't have a shot in hell winning this basketball game here tonight. No shot. So, again, they get the win, but like I said, this was as close to an embarrassing win as I've ever seen this Denver Nuggets team have. It is concerning. I mean, you definitely don't feel better than you did coming into tonight's game about this Nuggets basketball team. They've got another game tomorrow night coming up against the Washington Wizards. Remember those guys? Back in, what was it, early December? The Nuggets lost in Washington to the worst team in basketball. Their response tomorrow night is going to be fascinating to see because not only did they eke out a victory over a very depleted Lakers roster tonight, the Lakers B team, maybe even their C team, and then you've got the worst team in basketball coming into town tomorrow night. It's weird for me to say this, but I really do think this was a just complete lack of focus from the Nuggets. They knew LeBron wasn't going to play. We have known that for a couple of days now, but we just found out about Luka early this afternoon. And you've just got to wonder if that somehow factored into the Nuggets' slow start. Malone just mentioned it. He's like, we started the game so slow, no urgency, and they came out and kicked their ass in that first quarter. They gave up 40 points in the first quarter. That's embarrassing. It just flat out is embarrassing. There's no other way to spin it, okay? And again, like, it is great that they came back and were able to get this win, no doubt about it. but that's an embarrassing win for the Denver Nuggets here tonight. And we last post-game show, KJ and I were talking about the huge number of minutes that these guys are playing and how I don't think that's a sustainable formula for this team going into the playoffs because of what happened last year. They played big minutes again tonight. Nikola Jokic, 38 minutes. Jamal Murray, 39 minutes. Aaron Gordon plays 31, but I still think that's too much because this is his first game back after missing several games. This was the game where you circled on the calendar after you heard LeBron was out, and especially after we had heard that Luka Doncic was not going to be playing in tonight's game as well, where we were talking about on our radio show today with D-Mac, Scott Hastings, and Tyler Columbus. Is this a game where you sit Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic? Well, thank God they didn't do that because they wouldn't have won this game without those two guys. Now you look at tomorrow's game. You going to sit Jokic tomorrow? I mean, I would. If I were head coach Michael Malone, I would sit Nikola Jokic tomorrow. Again, this team cannot sustain the amount of minutes they're playing right now. This is exactly what we saw last year. And look, Malone just mentioned it. He knows. He knows he's playing them too many minutes. He does. But you got to play these guys to beat the Lakers C team. So, all right, we've got our guy KJ Granderson on. KJ, welcome to the show. He's shaking his head. KJ, that is the perfect reaction because I just said, I don't think I've ever seen a more embarrassing win from a Denver Nuggets basketball team in the Jokic era. We'll just put it that way. Embarrassing.
I agree 1,000%. I think that's the greatest way to sum it up, Dan. This was absolutely embarrassing. This game had no business being close. It had no business being competitive. The Lakers were not only down LeBron and Luka, they had two other starters out tonight. And this game came down as if we were in game 2 last year of Lakers versus Nuggets in the playoffs. I'm like, what is happening with this team? Like, I'm trying not to boil over, man. But this
what
team
is happening with this team? I have no idea, man.
Dude,
like, you get all your 5 starters back tonight. The Lakers are missing 4 of their 5 starters, and you eke out a win over the Lakers. I said B team, maybe C team.
But where's the sense of urgency with the Nuggets right now? It's like they're in cruise control into the playoffs. I'm tired of seeing cruise control. I've been seeing cruise control for 67 games now. I want to see a sense of urgency. You're getting ready to go into the playoffs, okay? I don't know what their longest winning streak of the season has been, but I'm almost certain it has not been more than 5, maybe 6 this season. I want to see the Nuggets actually reel off a consistent amount of wins against teams of quality competition. There's no reason why this game should be close. Because now my mind is wired that tomorrow against the Wizards, that game is going to be close too. And
who they've already lost to this year.
Exactly. You've already lost to them. And not to mention, the Wizards just beat Detroit, who's going to be a top 6 seed in the East. So, I don't know.
Dude, I love your body language and your expressions right now because I that's exactly how I feel. And I think that's exactly how a lot of Nuggets fans are feeling right now. And to your point, like, what's going on with this team? What is going on with this team? I mean, what is it, man? Like, we're going to get into the minutes played like we did the other night because I told you, looking at these minutes, they played way too many minutes again. And they needed every single second from Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray just to eke out this victory. But KJ, Michael Malone said something really interesting in his post-game press conference. He said, he told the team, I believe at halftime, he told his team, fellas, this isn't a preseason game. Wake up. He had to tell him it wasn't a preseason game.
Game 67, we're saying it's not a preseason game.
Yeah, we're in the middle of March. The playoffs are less than a month away. And Malone is telling his guys, he said they started slow. He said they gave up 40 points in the first quarter, KJ, to Bronny James and the Lakers.
Yeah.
To the Bronny James-led Lakers.
Bronny had a strong 5 tonight. A strong 5.
Dude, I'm telling you. So I'm here at Ballerina. KJ, it was one of the weirdest phenomenons I've ever seen and heard. There were definitely more Nuggets fans here in the arena by a pretty significant margin, but there were, as usual, still a good amount of Lakers fans, and they usually sit like behind the Lakers bench in this area over here. Every single time Bronny James touched the basketball, they went nuts. The Lakers fans. I've never seen anything like it. Like, whatever the fact that he's just LeBron James's kid, and these fans here at Ballerina, I've never seen anything like it. They were going absolutely wild every time he touched the ball. It was insane. Insane.
Lakers,
the amount
Lakers
of
fans are delusional anyway.
Well, they are. But the amount of pressure on that kid, I feel sorry for him. I really do.
Yeah.
Like that everyone's reaction to him is completely not his fault at all.
Right.
You know, it's his father's fault, in my opinion. But it was wild. But back to the Malone thing real quick. Again, having to tell your team, fellas, this isn't a preseason game against a Lakers team without 4 of their 5 starters. My concern level after tonight's game has gone from like a 5 to an 8.5, maybe a 9.
Yeah. No, I'm with you 1,000%, Dan. And let me tell you where my concern level is. Until proven otherwise, the Nuggets are no longer a championship contender to me. Because you don't take it serious enough, man. These are games. We've been praising them all season, right? For beating the teams they need to beat. But it seems like here in the last few weeks, it's kind of like even the teams they need to beat, it's still been a struggle. And I just cannot continue to turn a blind eye to what I'm seeing. We'll get into the minute stuff in just a second, but it's the inconsistency. It's you still can't trust your bench night in and night out. Russell Westbrook was really good tonight, but he's
been pretty good all year.
He has, but
he's been the only consistent guy off the bench. That it's just been Russ. That's it.
It has.
When he's coming off the bench, he's starting a lot of the time.
He is, because of the number of injuries that have taken place in the starting lineup. And there hasn't been much load management, but there have been a couple of games where Malone, I think, has wisely, put AG down or put Nikola down for a couple of games earlier in the season, which, hey, whatever it takes, right? No problem. But through all of that, through all of the little stuff that they have gone and done to try to gain extra momentum, extra rest, just the little things along the way, yet we're still having the same issue. And that's the number one issue we've been having with the Nuggets since day one. And it actually goes back to last year, and I'm so sick of talking about it, is effort. It pays nothing to give effort. Effort is free. Effort is free, man. And the Nuggets refuse to tap into that free source.
It's not only free, it's a currency.
It's a currency.
That's how some of these guys keep their jobs, But I'm with you, man. You're right. Like, Nuggets fans are going to not like me saying this, but I don't have really any tangible reason to say this. But where are the leaders on this team? Not like Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and Russ and Aaron Gordon, they cannot allow this to happen. Look, we can put all the blame we want on Michael Malone as far as getting his team ready to play, but at the end of the day, he's not out there on the court, man. Like, nope. He's got to tell his guys, this isn't a preseason game. Shouldn't Nikola Jokic and Jamal and Aaron Gordon be the ones conveying that message?
I mean, you would think so, but apparently that message is not getting through. We've been asking that same question, Dan. I remember it was me and you, man. We've been doing post-game since November and December. We was asking those same questions. Man, who's the leader in the locker room? Excuse me. Who's the leader in the locker room? who's stepping up? Who's asking the hard questions? Who's making sure things are getting pushed along? And the number one answer that me and you were given was it was Russell Westbrook. But the truth of the matter is, and we're going to continue to harp on this until one of the star players get it. It can't be Russell Westbrook. They respect his veteran voice. They respect him. But it's the star players that can actually move the needle.
Yeah. Yep. It's at the end of the day, when the team's effort is falling short, in my opinion, that falls on Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. It just does. They can't allow that to happen. Do you think Nathan McKinnon would allow the Avs to not show effort to start games or whatever the case may be inside of a game? You think he's going to put up with that?
No.
Hell no.
Not to mention he got his coach's approval to back him.
Right. Exactly. And look, I'm not trying to dunk on Nikola or Jamal because on the court, Nicola's having the best season in NBA history, okay? And
True.
Jamal, I thought, actually had a really good second half. He struggled shooting in the first half, but he did heat up in the second half, hit a huge three to put him ahead. So I give him all the credit in the world for that. But the off the court stuff is kind of where I'm talking about. And I'm not inside that locker room every day. I've been inside that locker room enough to know, and I've said this a lot, this is one of the most tight-knit teams in the NBA. They really are. They really are a family. But you've got to wonder who's holding these guys accountable other than Malone, because Malone can only tell them so much. At the end of the day, it's like you said, it's got to come from their stars.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think D-Mac, man, he asked Scotty a great question on PhD today, on 92.5. And you guys got into the conversation of like, what was the locker room like the other night when they lost to Minnesota? And Scotty was like, it was quiet, but not like this abnormal quiet. When you have real leaders, it's an uncomfortable quiet because if you hear the wrong pin drop, that pin may get chunked right back at you. And the fact that it was like in, just guys just getting dressed and, just trying to get to the bus type of quiet. No, guys should be scared to walk around quiet. That's how it should be when you got somebody in that locker room who lets you know, hey, we ain't messing around no more. Too many games have been squandered. Too many moments have been passed. And on my watch, I'm not going to let it happen one more game, one more moment, one more minute. And at the end of the day, the Nuggets, they've got to get that in their hearts and in their mind that that's who they want to be. Like, I'll never forget, it was before the trade deadline. We'll call it the 2020-2021 season, the condensed season. And I'll never forget, it was towards the end of January. Scotty was asking a question. He was like, at what point are the Nuggets going to decide to be all that they can be? And eventually they did kind of turn the corner once they, once they made the trade for Aaron Gordon. And we saw that small window before Jamal got injured. But with all of the ups and downs that the Nuggets have been through, but with all of the camaraderie that they have at the same time, when are the Nuggets going to be who they are? Who are they going to be when are they going to be the true versions of themselves? I don't know. And I don't want to hear anything about a switch being flipped in the playoffs. This team has not, even though they're a championship team after what happened last year, I don't want to hear that.
Can't do that. And DMAC does make the fair point a lot that the year they did win the championship, I think they were like one game above 500 after the All-Star break. But if you remember, KJ, the difference between that year versus even last year or this year, they had the one seed basically locked up by the All-Star break. I mean, they really could go into coast mode, and they were able to rest these guys a lot more. Well, they're not doing that right now. So it's a lot easier to flip the switch when you're healthy and you're rested and you're geared up for the playoffs. But if you're going into the playoffs with these guys basically ground up into the ground, it's going to be damn near impossible to do that. And that's kind of been my whole point all season long. the goal of this team should be, I mean, obviously they're a playoff team, but the goal of this team heading into the postseason, be as rusted and healthy as they possibly can be. And, I heard Nate Kreckman talking about, because I had mentioned the other night on this show that I just wouldn't play Aaron Gordon the rest of the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
And Nate was saying yesterday, like, I don't even think it was in response to me. He was just saying this, but he was like, look, Aaron Gordon may not even get healthier if they do that, which I find that hard to believe. Like, I don't know how a month off wouldn't get you healthier, wouldn't get that calf at least a little more right.
True.
So I still hold firm on, I think they're making a mistake by playing Aaron Gordon. I do. I know that they're trying to stack up wins, but again, I don't, like I said, man, I don't care about the 5 or 6 seed. I want them to be healthy. That's my main objective here, is for
Yep.
them to be rested and as healthy as they possibly can be. I'll phrase it that way, because I'm with Nate. I don't think Aaron Gordon, even if he sits out the rest of the regular season, is going to be 100%. I mean, that just doesn't seem likely considering the fact that he's been in and out of the lineup all year. But it's got to help a little. I mean, I would imagine.
Just a little bit.
Okay, let me ask you. Were you, one, surprised that Aaron Gordon played tonight, and two, were you okay that he suited up and played tonight?
One, yes, I was surprised, and two,
I was too.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I just didn't see that coming. And obviously, Malone says in his pregame presser, he's like, if all things, continue to go as planned, he's likely to go. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay. Didn't see that coming. And just to kind of see that, I was like, all right, well, look, I don't know, man. And look, was he okay coming back tonight? Sure, he held his own as a typical
That's not
Aaron
what my
Gordon
point
would.
is. He played well. He looked good. But
Right,
my point is, like, he's been in and out of the lineup all season long.
all season.
I mean, I don't get it, man. It doesn't make sense to me. It really
It
doesn't.
it doesn't to me either. I'm with you. Me and you are in lockstep. He should rest. Rest should be the number one priority right now. If the Nuggets are not going to give effort, then the least you can do is be healthy when you quote unquote flip the switch in the playoffs. Because the last thing I want to hear is that we were drained from going for it at the end of the season again, and that led and bled into why we couldn't give maximum effort in the playoffs.
All right. Yep.
I don't want to hear that narrative again.
All right, KJ, let's hear a little bit from Coach Malone, because he actually was a little bit calmer than I was expecting. He was still a little fiery for sure. But for everybody watching, you've got to watch the very beginning of this press conference, because Coach Malone, they hand him a box score, right, on a sheet of paper every game. He comes into the room, sits down. The first thing he does, picks that up, crumples it up, and throws it in the trash in his post-game press conference. And that pretty much summed it up of tonight's game. So let's go ahead and hear from Nuggets head coach Michael Malone.
Throw this game in the trash, move on to the next one.
Well, you have to. I mean, Washington's coming in here tomorrow night, so this isn't a beauty pageant. I mean, we don't get rated on our wins. It's a win. Obviously, a lot of things what we can be better at. The rebounding, 19 for 20 points, a huge concern. We gave them another 19 off our turnovers, so that's 39 points we allowed just off of offense, rebounds, and turnovers. Another game where in the first quarter where we just came in the game, showed up, and kind of tried to ease our way into it, and they jumped all over us. And that's a recipe for disaster. We can't do that. We have to approach the game with urgency. So good win. We're down 3 with 52 seconds to go. We closed out 8-0. Some really good late game execution, shot making, got some timely stops, but give them credit. They played their hearts out, and they made this a game.
How much does this team need that
Jamal Murray day in and day out.
Yeah, I mean, and just like every quarter, I mean, when Jamal is out there, you see what he does in the second half tonight. You see what he does late in the game in the fourth quarter. He takes over, huge shot making, and to be honest, I Joker shooting only 16 shots, Jamal only shooting. I got to get those guys more field goal attempts. I got to get those two guys 20, 25 shots a game. Easy. And that's no disrespect to anybody else, but I mean, we need those guys to carry the offensive load. But I mean, Jamal stepped up, made some big plays, and when we needed it, we had an ATO play, down 3, really well executed. The guys did their job. Nicola gets a 3-point play, we tie it, and then Jamal's plays behind that, and a big pull-up 3, and then Russ comes in for defense and he gets a huge steal just to kind of to cap the game off. So wasn't pretty, a lot to clean up, but that helps us in the standings with 15 games to go.
Coach, is Washington the type of opponent that a game like this is good for? Because you say don't
No.
off the gas for anybody.
No, don't have to. They already beat us.
Right.
I mean, like, no matter what happened tonight, even if we won by 40, lost by 40, Washington already beat us. So, like, tomorrow night's game, if there's any, like, oh, we got these guys, that's what we thought last time we played them, and they beat us in their building. So, and they're a little bit different team. They've made some trades. They've got different guys playing for them, Marcus Smart, Chris Middleton. So this tomorrow night will be our 5th game in 7 days. So that worries me more than anything is the 5 games in 7 nights. But when you're playing against a team that's already beaten you, that should be all the attention you need going into tomorrow night's game, in my opinion.
Do you think your team was kind of looking past LA today because of all the injuries and the guys they didn't have, and that might have contributed to the slow start?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, we spent all day talking about how this game has nothing to do with who plays for them. This game is all about us because you only have 16 games remaining. And when you look at the standings and you're 1 game ahead of the Lakers in the standings and you're tied 1-1, you have, no matter who plays for who, we have to find a way to start playing more consistent basketball, better defense throughout. If we were looking past them, I don't know. But to be honest, through 66 games now, we have the 29th rated first quarter defense.
Wow.
So we must be looking past a lot of folks for that to be the case. I think it's more a matter of us finding a way to start the game with much greater urgency.
That last shot from Jamal, Lakers switched and put connect. He's like front.
Okay, we'll stop it there, KJ. He goes on to say, like I said, he goes on to say that he had to tell the guys that this isn't a preseason game. And look, you just heard it from Malone there, 29th ranked first quarter defense. So clearly this wasn't just a tonight issue. I think what pisses me off so much about this is you were playing the Lakers C team, man.
Yeah.
And you just heard Malone right there say he was talking to these guys about it all day. All day he was telling them, hey, it's not about them. Who cares who's playing? This is about us. We're in the stretch run. And for them to come out as flat as they did, my goodness, it's embarrassing. I don't know how else to say it.
I think that's a great way to sum it up, Dan. It is embarrassing, and it will never not be embarrassing. Like, I'm still here at the studio, right? And when I get done with the Avalanche game tonight, I go back to Fox Sports Radio. Fox Sports Radio, they're laughing at the Nuggets. Laughing at the Nuggets because they scraped by with this 5-point win tonight. And if that isn't the epitome of what people think of the Nuggets nationally, now what they think of Nikola Jokic is different. What they think of the Nuggets, okay? And I want people to understand there's a difference. Nikola is respected, but the Nuggets, I don't know. I think across the country, I think there's a lot of people doubting the Nuggets. And number one, no one really wants to talk about the Nuggets if they don't have to anyway. And the Nuggets are falling right into that trap. Not saying that they should care what anybody says. I'm not saying that. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure you have somebody in your corner if you're actually going to make a run towards the championship. You don't want everybody to be like, man, look at this Nuggets team. They're looking like a team that's going to get bounced in the first round. Nobody wants that to be their narrative, just so you can wear this big chip on your shoulder and be like, nobody believed in us. Nobody cares about that. Like, just stop. Like, the chip on the shoulder thing was cute on your first run. Now you got to be serious, and the sense of urgency is just, it is befuddling to say the least.
Imagine if the Celtics or the Cavs or the Thunder had a game like this against this Lakers team we saw here tonight. What would people be saying about those teams?
Dude,
oh, they're pretenders. Even though they have some of the top records in the league. They'd be crushing them. They'd be crushing them.
Destroying them.
So look, I mean, this is such a weird post-game show. And if you didn't hear in that presser, Malone say, like, we got the win, and you just took that part out and then listened to that 4 minutes we played, and I asked you, and you didn't see the game, and I asked you, KJ, did the Nuggets win or lose tonight? What would your answer have been?
A loss.
100%. 100%. That's what this game felt like. It felt like a loss. And look, it's not going to say that in the standings. And Malone, you heard it there. He said, look, this isn't a beauty pageant. We got the win. Okay. That is true. And
hey, this isn't a beauty pageant, but this also isn't the pig's playpen, all right? Let's calm down there, buddy. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. I should have said that to Malone down there. Oh God. He would have been pissed. But
oh, goodness.
Do you think this can have a lasting effect, a lasting negative effect for the remainder of the season for this team? Or do you think this could be a wake-up call? Like the final, I mean, they've had plenty of wake-up calls this year. Okay, but nothing's as significant as this. And by the way, you're on your home court. You should be dominant here. You should be dominant here. Even if this was a healthy Lakers team, you should win that game on your home court. This team is good enough. And it goes back to what you were talking about earlier. Who is this team? I do believe this is a championship level team when they are firing on all cylinders. I really do. But that's clearly just not the case right now, which is wild because for the most part, I mean, other than Christian Brown, the starting five has been the same for 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
And Christian Brown, like we've talked about earlier this year, as much as I love KCP, and I do, Christian Brown's been better than KCP was, in my opinion, over his time here.
We agree.
So, obviously, the main thing is the bench is worse. But, KJ, the starters are playing monster minutes. The bench is hardly playing. This is what we're going to see in the playoffs. Now, Russ played 28 minutes tonight. Okay, and he played well. He did. Got the steal at the end of the game, sealed it. I mean, that was fantastic. I have no qualms with Russell Westbrook tonight or really at any point this season.
Yeah.
Peyton Watson. Woof. Zeke Naji. It was looking like Zeke turned a corner. He had a rough game again tonight. I'm trying to figure out, like, what is the problem? What is the problem? I don't get it. You know, they had their starting five back tonight, and I don't want to hear they've only played what is it, 17 games together all season. These guys have been playing together for years.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that.
That's, to me, it's like, come on, really? That's the argument. Man, this feels weird doing this after a win, KJ.
It does, man. It really, really does. Like, this team kind of reminds me of the 2018-2019 Nuggets a little bit, where it's kind of like they're relearning each other all over again. Like, yeah, this is the core, and we know who they are, and the main pieces are in place, but it almost feels like outside of the core, the rest of this team, they don't even know each other. And they act like it. And they look like it. And it's just like, for a team that's already won one, you would think
Watson's been here for a couple years. Zeke Najee's been here for what, 4 years? The only really new guy coming off the bench is Russell Westbrook, and he's the only one playing well.
that's what I'm
And Jalen
saying.
Pickett too.
Look, man, this thing, and that's what gets me about this team. This.
Oh, I get you. You're saying like, why does it look like that? Considering that these guys, I get you.
Yes, yeah. Like,
yeah.
why it shouldn't look like that? I guess I'm basically saying the same thing you're saying. Is I'm just trying to figure out the why, because I don't know why this team continues to look like they're like estranged. It's like one game they can look like they've been playing together for 4 or 5 years, and then another game they're looking like they played together for the first time in like a decade. Yeah. And it's just like, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. And I hate to keep overusing this word, but the truth of the matter is this is an effort issue, man. Effort.
Okay. Well, real quick. So DMAC just posted Christian Brown, and in the title it says, "It starts with me. I have to be a better leader." And DMAC says CB talks honestly about what he needs to do. So let's go ahead and take just a couple minutes of this and see if CB shares anything interesting.
Christian, what are you guys seeing kind of fourth quarter? It's going back and forth. You guys are just trying to catch up, stay up. Just what were you seeing in the flow of the game just as it's winding down?
Well, it's good that we executed late. I think we went on an 8-0 run, Coach said, and that's good. But I don't think we should have been in that position, and we didn't come out with the right approach and put ourselves kind of in a bad spot in a really big game. So we can't do that anymore.
Christian, you play more minutes, more games, more drives, more touches. Do you feel different after this kind of minutes load and schedule at this point in the year than you did in previous seasons?
Like body wise?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I feel different, but I'm just grateful. I get to be out there and play a ton of minutes. With a really good team every night. So this is what I asked for, and so it's all on me to prepare and be ready. And I think I've done an okay job. Obviously, I'm learning as I go, and there's a lot of things I could be better at. But I'm just grateful, every day for an opportunity like this, and I'll never take this for granted.
Is that what you gotta tell yourself when you're trying to mentally push through this part of the season? Is I'm just gotta be grateful for this opportunity?
No, I don't have to tell myself. That's truly, how I feel. I think I wake up every day and I get to live, not only my dream, but I get to live. Everybody in the NBA wants to start, wants to play, 30 some minutes, sometimes 40 minutes a night, and so that's truly, how I feel, and that's how I approach this game. And like I said, I've asked for this, last year. This is exactly what I wanted, and that's what I got. So, I can't let those guys down. There's a lot of people that put a lot of trust in me, to be in this spot. So, just can't let those guys down, and got to approach the game the right way every time. And I think that I could be better with that.
You guys were up by 12 in the second half, and it felt like, okay, we're good, here we go. And then the Lakers just kept coming back. What were you thinking as you guys were struggling and they were making that comeback?
Well, I mean, these guys are, they're good players over there. Austin's a good player. Obviously, I didn't do a very good job on him tonight, and that's my fault. And so, yeah, I can't let that happen. But so it starts with me. Obviously, Dalton did a good job too, but it starts with me, and I think that it is my job at this point, to make sure the team's ready, energy-wise, approach-wise, and when I talk to the guys, I got to do a better job of, kind of putting emphasis on the importance of, this game, and this game was for the 2 seed, and obviously each game matters, but this was a big one, in particular, and I think we just didn't come out with the right approach tonight.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting. It was funny hearing their KJCB talk about, I need to be better to start games. I believe he was like 5 of 5 from the field to start this game, which is interesting. But he did mention there, Austin Reeves did light him up tonight, which was not something that we're accustomed to seeing this year from Christian Brown. He's been pretty good on the defensive end. So I would assume that's what he meant by I need to start better. Maybe he was talking about on the defensive end, because the last I checked, he started the game 5 of 5 shooting from the field. So he had a good start offensively, but maybe that's really what Malone is talking about and what Christian's talking about right there is this team needs to not come into the game lackadaisical on the defensive end of the court.
No, I definitely think so. I think that is a huge part of why this team finds itself in these just unnecessary holes like all the time. Like the Nuggets, they prided themselves over the last few years, and I think it's specifically Jamal Murray on just having the ability to be clutch, like, when it matters most. And I always say, like, the beauty of a real clutch gene is knowing that you tap into it when you have to, not because you can, right? It's not something that should be your bread and butter. Like, because I know I can be clutch shouldn't be like my go-to. Like, if all else fails, go be clutch. Like, no player, no great player in history has ever said that. They all had the mentality of, I'm gonna start off this game, give it all that I have, and if for some reason I'm not shooting well, or if for some reason the other team starts off shooting well, and I've got to take on a bigger role later, fine, no problem.
Sure.
But it's never been because a team has had the idea in their minds that, hey, guess what? We'll be clutch, so it's fine. And it's just like, man, I feel like I'm overusing it, but the sense of urgency, I keep going back to it, man. The sense of urgency is just not there with this team. And
Well, I don't blame you because it's so perplexing. Like,
it,
this isn't November
no,
or October. This is middle of March, man. I
yes,
think that's probably where your head's at. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but
you're
because I'm right
absolutely
there
right.
with you. And it was interesting too to hear Christian Brown there say, I've got to be better. And he basically was saying he's got to be a better leader. He's in his third year. And don't get me wrong, I love hearing that from Christian Brown. I think that's a very positive attribute of his. But I gotta say, man, and I could be wrong. Maybe I missed it, but I don't think I've heard a lot of Joker or Jamal talking like that this year. At least as far as like, I need to be the one that's holding these guys accountable. That it
Yeah,
starts with me. So it's so hard to criticize Joker though, because like what he does on the court. I mean, how can you criticize him? It's
I,
like
I,
I'm going to sit here and say, Joker, you need to be a better leader, when he's literally having the best season in NBA history. But I do think it still holds true that maybe, and I'm just speculating here, that they maybe could do a better job of really holding this team accountable behind closed doors and not just on the court. I guess is kind of where I'm going with it.
yeah, no, you're hitting the nail right on the head. We love DJ, we love Russ, we love all of our vets on the bench. But at the end of the day, it's got to come from the two big horses, and because it's not coming
100%.
from, it's all falling on deaf ears, and um, unfortunately, because it's falling on deaf ears, I think it may come back to haunt them because the right ingredients right now aren't being added to the meal. Right now, they're adding mustard to a meal that requires butter, and they're fixing, Texas toast in a moment where they should be fixing cornbread. And it's just like, what are we doing, man? What kind of meal are we making? What kind of meal are we
Getting me
making?
all hungry now, KJ. Making my mouth
Listen,
water.
listen. I'm sorry, man. I mean, look, it's
Some of that good
11:06 at
Southern
night, man.
cooking,
We can
man.
we can go get something to
Some
eat,
of
man.
that
Just
good
let me know.
Southern cooking.
Right.
That's some
But
good
man,
stuff.
the right meal matters, man. You got to have the right ingredients, and I just who helps to get the ingredients where they need to be is just as important as the ingredients coming together.
It's
I,
the
I
job of the head chef.
It's the
The
job
head
of the head
chef.
chef. It is the job of the head chef.
Yeah. And KJ, last thing here before we get out of here. To your point earlier, I want to get this in from Miles because I like this. Miles says, don't go into the game knowing you're clutch in the last 5 minutes, kick their butt right off the bat, and then you can rest more guys versus such a high tension game. That's basically what you're saying. It's a lot like when you're a kid growing up and you're leaving the house and your mom tells you, hey, you should take a coat. Oh, Mom, I'll be fine. It could get cold. And then you leave the house without a coat and you're like, damn it, Mom was right. Now I'm cold and I want a coat. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yep.
It's better to have that clutch ability available to you and not need it. You know what I mean? Like, start these games better and you don't have to worry about that. Get in that mindset right off the bat. So,
yeah. No, I'm with you 1,000%. Listen, I understand in life the old mantra is not how you start, is how you finish. But we've seen time and time again in the playoffs, the most consistent teams have been able to finish well. So what does that mean? It's not necessarily how you start, how you finish. It's how you start and how you finish. And the Nuggets have got to get the start right. They do. If I had to give it a grade, like they're 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10 on the finish. Just because of the two-man pick and roll. But that hasn't been as crispy as it has been in years past. So I'm gonna give it an 8.5 instead of a 10 out of 10.
I've been talking about that this year.
Yep,
Man,
we sure have.
Man, it's been hit or miss this year for whatever reason.
I think their start is 3 out of 10 because a lot of it has to do with the fact that night to night, we don't know which guy alongside Joker is going to be ready to go. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Last thing I'll say, it's like, I agree with you. It's not how you start, it's how you finish, but how you start can affect how you finish.
Agreed.
So, you can finish a game great and still lose.
Yeah.
It was kind of the inverse tonight. It was weird because, like, if you heard D-Mac's question there, I mean, they built up a pretty decent lead in the second half. Like, they struggled in the first half. They came out. I thought they did a better job of starting the second half, and then it kind of dipped down again. So it's not just the lack of focus to start games; it's the lack of focus like throughout the entirety of the game that needs to improve dramatically. So,
right,
man, this is like a funeral, and they won the game.
Goodness gracious, man.
They won the game, KJ.
Well, listen, I couldn't tell, Dan, because the way everybody's walking around.
Oh, yeah, Christian Brown, dude, like, he sounded pretty somber. Malone was kind of pissed. I mean, I get it. Like, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was an interesting one. So, again, last thing, where are the Nuggets going to go from here? Is this going to be one of those moments in this season that we're going to look back on and say, man, did they turn a corner after that game? Or is it going to be that was the beginning of the end for this year's Nuggets team? What's it going to be?
Dude, I'm so sick of playing Mr. Optimistic with this team. I'm going to take the latter this time. This is the time we're going to say, hey, this is when the Nuggets knew they had to make a change.
And prove it. And I'll believe it. We'll believe it when we see it.
Yes.
Now they've got to prove it again.
Yes.
It's almost like they've lost the benefit of the doubt.
They absolutely have lost the benefit of the doubt. I don't know this team. When I look at this team, I don't know who this is. I don't know who I'm watching. I don't know what I'm watching. I don't know if I'm getting ready to watch NBA champion or if I'm getting ready to watch the soap opera, Young and the Restless. I don't know.
Yeah. Some nights they look like one of the best teams in the league, like we saw on Monday in Oklahoma City. And then we get a stinker like tonight. It's just wild, man. It's so inconsistent this year. That doesn't bode well for the playoffs. But hey, we'll see how they respond tomorrow night. KJ, you're the best. Thanks for sticking around. You've had a late night at the station. Get the hell out of there. Berto's still there. He's long gone. Berto's long gone.
Nah, Berto was on the first train smoking. You know that.
yeah, that's right. All right, KJ, you're the man, dude. Have a great night. Have a great weekend, and we'll see what this team does tomorrow. I'm excited to see how they respond. So we'll see.
We'll see. Me and you both, man. I just sense the urgency. That's all I beg for. Anyway, Dan, thank you so much for having me, brother.
All right, there he goes, KJ Granderson. Yeah, good stuff. Well, like I said, we'll see how this team goes tomorrow. But everybody, really appreciate you listening to the show tonight. Again, the Nuggets did win this game, as weird as that sounds to say, with with how this post-game show went and the post-game press conferences. The vibe in there was very weird. I was in there from Malone, and then I had to come up here to do the show. He was pretty ticked off. So, and I'm sure the players are ticked off as well. I would hope they are, because I'm ticked off, and you should be too. So, we'll see what happens tomorrow night. They better beat the Wizards. I'll just say that, but we'll see how it goes. That's going to do it for the post-game show, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to In the Paint right here on Altitude Sports Radio.